You've expressed your dissatisfaction. Firstly, let's begin with calls that we've seen made throughout the day for the terms of this loan to be made transparent. Is that a call that you're echoing? And what are you mostly concerned may be a risk factor here?
Well, there's a number of issues that the loan would have to cover, of course. And the problem with the loan is, one, we don't really know, as you said, the conditions and the terms to which the loan was given to Eskom on, other than the fact that they have to complete Medupi and Kusile. But in itself, Medupi and Kusile have already been funded by the World Bank and various other institutions, and we shouldn't be in a stage at this current point in time where we're looking for more money to effectively complete Medupi and Kusile. Alone from that, we know that around the world, projects that are concerning coal as well as fossil fuels are also starting to be seen as stranded assets. So when you're investing in coal and in fossil fuels, you've got a higher chance of them not reaping the benefits that you previously would have had before there was new technology such as renewables.
And one of the issues you've highlighted is, the strong stance that and the commitments that China has made towards climate change and perhaps becoming more clean. But certainly, do you think that when you look at how much they've invested into Eskom right now, that they're confident about the future that the Kusile and the Medupi plants have in South Africa?
Well, that's a big one, because I don't think there has been any particular grouping of people, or at least parties, that have invested in Eskom in the past few years that actually had a greater degree of confidence in the fact that Eskom, as well as the power stations, will reap the benefits that they would have reaped before, as I said, previous times before we had technologies that would be introduced at a lower rate. The problem with this at this current point in time is that the technology that is being used at Eskom is quite expensive. At the same time, to actually effectively pay back the loans, we have to increase the amount of money that Eskom can generate from those plants. And that means that raising the tariffs. In a stage and in a situation where electricity demand is decreasing, it is quite inconceivable that we are investing more money that we don't have in technologies that don't necessarily work at this point in time, as well as the fact that it's becoming far more expensive for the average South African to be able to pay the tariff that leads to paying back the loan.
And certainly, I imagine that, of course, part of your interest as Greenpeace, you come into it from an environmental perspective, and you also take a look at the damage that a coal-fired power station like Kusile and Medupi would have on the environment. So it's not so much that it doesn't work, but it's not the most efficient way of generating electricity, especially looking into the future.
Well, at this current moment in time, the reason why we say it doesn't work is because the externalities are so much. You're talking about water, and you're talking about one of the largest threats to human existence, which is climate change. So you're telling me that a technology that is creating so much externalities and problems is working? No, it's not working. It's breaking the system that we live in. So our ecosystems are under threat, and in fact our own existence. If you're looking at the fact that our climate change impacts in South Africa are starting to become more pronounced, then that means that we shouldn't be investing in the very things that are creating the problem. And coal is one of them. So investing in something like Medupi and Kusile, which are supercritical power plants, which are very big and will be emitting a lot of power, a lot of pollution, as well as sucking a lot of water that we need, seems a bit weird. And with China's role, as you alluded to earlier, in the international community as a climate leader, seems that it is kind of double speak. But it must be of a conversation that has happened between South Africa and China that they got to this point, and we would like to see the terms and conditions to that effect.
And of course, one imagines that the first point of call for you as Greenpeace would be the local authorities, in fact, starting with Eskom itself. Have you approached Eskom about this?
We haven't approached Eskom about this yet, because we are still getting to terms with what has been agreed. Not only have we been bamboozled, and I say bamboozled because it's quite of a shock, about this new loan, we also have the previous loan that was announced last week with some of the Arab countries as well as with Nigeria. So there's a lot that's happening, and we need to come to terms with. Before we can make an informed intervention, we need to also look through the information that we have right now.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Happy Khambule. He's the Senior Political Advisor for Greenpeace. And yesterday, the CEO of Eskom saying that there was more money to come, that this would not be the end of the loans that Eskom would be applying for in order to keep itself functioning.